Hey, if you've ever crushed every single goal that society handed you on a silver platter, top grades in school, a solid 9 to 5 job with benefits, a nice suburban house with a white picket fence, the perfect family picture posted on social media every holiday end, yet you still wake up most mornings staring at the ceiling, feeling like something essential is missing, like you reliving out someone else's scripted dream while your own authentic one gathers dust in the back of your mind, untouched and forgotten. Then smash that subscribe button right now and commit to sticking with me all the way to the very end. I'm about to pull back the curtain on the invisible, meticulously crafted script that has been directing every act of your entire life without you ever even auditioning for the part or getting a say in the casting. What if the so-called success you've spent years chasing with blood, sweat, and tears isn't truly yours at all? What if it's just a cleverly written, manipulative role designed from the ground up to keep you performing endlessly, never pausing to truly live or breathe freely? This isn't some fluffy, surface-level motivation designed to pump you up for a day. This is the raw, unfiltered truth that Shakespeare spotted over 400 years ago in his plays, and it's still quietly running the show in our modern world today, pulling strings you didn't even know existed. Stay locked in tight, because once you see how deep this rabbit hole really goes, the subtle betrayals that sneak up on you, the hidden costs that pile up over decades, the shocking plot twist waiting at the end, you won't be able to look away or unsee it. You might finally gather the courage to rewrite your own ending, to step off the stage and into something real. You think you're free, making your own choices every day. But real freedom doesn't always show up in obvious handcuffs or locked doors. Sometimes it arrives disguised in the form of cheers, high fives, and pats on the back from everyone around you. You're not physically locked in a cold, dark cell with bars on the windows. No, you're right there center stage, basking in standing ovations, not for being your true, unfiltered self, but for absolutely nailing a character you never consciously picked or agreed to play. They slid that script under your door long before you could even talk back, before you learned how to say no thanks. This isn't for me, before you could even whisper to yourself, hold up, is this actually who I am deep down? Or just a really convincing, polished fake that everyone else seems to love? Shakespeare nailed this human tragedy centuries ago with that famous line, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Not just some of us, all of us. You're on that massive, brightly lit stage right this very second, whether you realize it or not. You've been performing since you were a little kid, crawling around a living room, mimicking the adults around you, the real, gut-wrenching heartbreak. Nobody ever bothered to ask if you actually wanted the gig in the first place. They just handed you the lines, clapped enthusiastically when you memorized them perfectly, and guilt-tripped you every single time you tried to improvise a little, add your own flair, or even walk off set to catch your breath. From the very day you could hold a crayon in your tiny hand and scribble on paper, they started feeding you the plot, step by step. Ace every test in school to get those gold stars, nail college admissions with the right extracurriculars and essays, snag that steady paycheck from a respectable job, find the right partner who fits the picture perfect, mold, lock down the 30-year mortgage on a house you can barely afford, fill that house with kids and all the trappings of domestic bliss, grind away at the daily hustle until retirement finally rolls around, then slip away quietly into the sunset with a cheap gold watch, some half-hearted golf outings, and a scrapbook of memories that feel strangely empty. Every single act of your life scripted out like a predictable Hollywood blockbuster, complete with all the props you could need. Glowing report cards, framed diplomas on the wall, sparkling engagement rings, polished LinkedIn profiles full of endorsements, 401k statements showing steady growth, and adorable grandkid photos cluttering your fridge. They labeled this whole package normal. They branded it as the ultimate success. But nobody ever paused for even a moment to check in with you. Hey, does this storyline actually feel right for who you are? Does it light a fire in your soul? Or does it just feel like going through the motions? Nail it all perfectly, and they call you ambitious, driven, a real go-getter. But veer off even a little, take a gap year, switch careers, prioritize passion over paycheck, and suddenly you're the cautionary tale whispered about at family gatherings. The lost cause everyone pities, the guy who threw it all away for nothing. That's your first glaring clue that this isn't real freedom. True freedom lets you say no without the entire world treating you like a traitor or a failure. This setup was never about liberation. It was obedience wearing a shiny crown, destiny dressed up in a tailored suit and tie, conformity disguised as personal achievement. Why on earth would anyone build the story of life this way, with such rigid acts and predictable twists? Simple math and cold calculation. When everyone follows the identical plot without deviation, the machine of society runs buttery smooth, without any hiccups or rebellions. You adapt yourself to fit the system perfectly, instead of demanding the system adapt to you and your unique needs. You're predictable, easy to categorize, controllable, simple to sell products to, straightforward to tax, and effortless to keep in line with subtle social pressures. Hand a guy a ready-made one-size-fits-all definition of winning early on. Then make him absolutely terrified of anything that looks even remotely like falling short. And watch him police himself for the rest of his life. No external enforcers needed. The trap snaps shut the tightest when you start believing deep in your bones that the role is your real identity, that your worth as a human being lives entirely in how flawlessly you deliver those scripted lines, that stepping out of character even for a moment means vanishing into irrelevance or nothingness. But here's the real gut punch that hits like a freight train. What if the roaring crowd around you is UNT actually cheering for the real you? What if they're just thrilled beyond words that you're hitting your mark so well, staying in your lane without causing waves? What if your whole exhausting chase for success has been nothing more than starring in a blockbuster movie that someone else directed, and you're the only one who doesn't get a meaningful cut of the profits or the glory? And the scariest, most haunting scene in this whole drama. You follow every single instruction to the letter, check every box on the list, hit every milestone right on schedule, and still wake up one random night, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding, wondering out loud to the darkness, this is it. This is the big win I've been killing myself for. That nagging voice creeps in louder during those quiet hours. This isn't me. This isn't what I dreamed of as a kid. You start doubting not just the plot you've been following, but the shadowy writers behind it all. Who exactly fed you this narrow version of life from the cradle? Who decided that grinding away until you're emotionally numb is somehow noble and admirable? That burnout badges are proof of strong character. That quiet, unquestioning obedience to the status quo is the highest virtue a man can aspire to. Who cashes in big time when you stay too busy, too distracted chasing external approval to ever stop, breathe, and ask the real, dangerous questions about what truly matters. They let you dream. Sure, they even encourage it, but only the approved, sanitized dreams that slot neatly into the gears of the economy and keep everything humming along. Ambition was always okay, as long as it looked exactly like everyone else's version, climbing corporate ladders, accumulating stuff, checking societal boxes. They never warned you that real freedom can sometimes look an awful lot like failure from the cheap seats in the audience. That quitting the script midway through might actually be the bravest, most heroic scene you'll ever play in your lifetime. Because if success means slowly erasing pieces of yourself until the final credits roll to polite, obligatory applause, is that really victory, or just a long, drawn-out, expensive exit from who you were meant to be? You're not just worn out from the daily hustle and the endless to-do lists piling up. You're bone-deep exhausted from the constant, unrelenting performance, from pretending day in and day out that this version of life still lights you up inside, still excites you, still feels worth the sacrifices. You did it all right according to the rules. Worked those extra overtime hours without complaint, played strictly by the unwritten codes of conduct, smiled through the mounting stress and pressure provided for everyone depending on you, protected your image at all costs, achieved what others only dream of. Now you're respected by colleagues, secure in your finances, admired by friends and family. So why on earth do you feel like an imposter sneaking around in your own story? Why does the mirror in the morning show a stranger wearing your face, going through familiar motions but with empty eyes? You built a highlight reel that looks absolutely perfect on paper, impressive resume, beautiful home, envy-inducing vacation photos, but inside your chest, it's hollow, echoing with unspoken regrets. The promotions that came with fanfare, the ever-increasing square footage of your living space, the perfectly curated social media posts, they all scream to the world, look, you've made it. You're a success story. But made it where? Exactly. Because under the confident Zoom background during meetings, under the packed schedule that leaves no room for reflection, something dark and insistent is scratching at the walls. You're not drained merely from the heavy workload or the long hours. You're drained from faking it, from pretending that the workload still holds deep meaning, still aligns with your soul, still justifies the years you've poured in. They promised you from the start that the climb would make you feel more alive, more powerful, more authentically yourself with every step upward. Nobody ever mentioned the possibility that you could construct an entire empire brick by brick, only to realize it was built for the wrong leading man, altogether for a version of you that doesn't even exist. You're not defective or broken. You're not failing at the game. You're just wearing armor that was forged for somebody else, heavy, ill-fitting plates that chafed with every move. You're sitting on a throne built to someone else's exact measurements, chasing a crown that never had your initials engraved on the inside. You executed the script so flawlessly, with such precision and dedication, that you forgot to audition for yourself, to check if this role truly suited your strengths, your passions, your deepest desires. Shakespeare saw this exact tragedy coming from miles away, and he wove it into his plays as a timeless warning. In Macbeth, a once brave and honorable soldier hears from mysterious witches that he's fated for the throne, destined for greatness. Seduced by the prophecy, he murders his way to power, schemes relentlessly, loses sleep night after night, sacrifices friendships, family, and his own sanity to grab the crown they said was his birthright. When he finally claims the seat at the top, there's no triumphant music swelling, no lasting joy or fulfillment, just a profound, echoing emptiness that consumes him. The crown didn't complete him or make him whole. It hollowed him out from the inside, leaving a shell of the man he used to be. Macbeth wasn't ruined by raw ambition alone. He was destroyed by becoming the role so completely that he lost touch with the man underneath, the one with morals, loyalties, and a conscience. He thought kingship would prove his ultimate worth to the world. All it proved was how far he'd drifted from his true self, how much he'd betrayed his own heart in the pursuit. That's the stark warning they conveniently skip in all the motivational speeches and success seminars. You can rack up every conceivable win, every accolade, every material marker of achievement, and still feel like a complete phony standing in the spotlight, not because you cheated your way there or took shortcuts, but because you're fundamentally out of alignment, your actions mismatched with your inner compass. The system rewards compliance above all else, not congruence or authenticity. Climb as high as you want on that ladder, it still won't refill what it quietly stole from you over the years. Your authentic self, your unscripted joy, your raw passion. Take a hard glance around at the successful guys you know, the executives, the entrepreneurs, the family men who've made it. How many of them are quietly unraveling behind closed doors? How many numb the long nights with whiskey neat, prescription pills, or endless mindless scrolling through feeds? How many sit in high-stakes boardrooms or at fancy dinners feeling like actors waiting desperately for someone to yell, cut, and end the scene? They're not weak or flawed individuals. They're just mismatched, twinning big at a game that was never designed for their unique soul, never tailored to what truly makes them come alive. You might be crushing it on paper, ticking all the boxes with ease, but ask yourself the hard, unavoidable question. Is this really the fight you signed up for, with eyes wide open? Deep, uncomfortable truth. You were raised from day one to serve the machine of society, not to nurture your own inner fire or follow your personal calling. Conditioned subtly to chase shiny trophies and external validations, not to seek out raw truth or inner peace. Rewarded handsomely for staying numb and productive, not for waking up to deeper questions or pursuing unconventional paths. The higher you climb inside that rigid system, the tougher it becomes to admit out loud, this version of me, this carefully constructed persona, doesn't feel like home anymore. It feels like a rented suit that's too tight around the collar. And when that shattering realization finally hits you square in the chest, everything starts to crumble, not as catastrophic failure, but as a long overdue awakening to something better. The script defined who you should be, what you should want, how you should act. Shakespeare shows us vividly what happens when a man mistakes the elaborate costume for his actual skin, when he confuses the role with reality. Macbeth gained a whole kingdom through sheer will and cunning, but lost the only thing he couldn't replace or reclaim: his core integrity, his humanity. So maybe the question that's been haunting your quiet moments late at night isn't simply, am I successful by the world's standards? It's, successful at what price to my soul? What dreams did you bury deep underground to earn the crowd's applause? What raw, real parts of you did you mute or suppress to keep the performance running smooth and uninterrupted? You thought you were building something lasting, something eternal, a legacy to be proud of. Maybe you were just constructing a beautiful, ornate cage with great lighting and comfortable amenities. One that looks enviable from the outside, but feels suffocating from within. The terrifying part that keeps you up at night, once you read this, deeply invested in the role with years sunk in, relationships built around it, finances tied to it, leaving it behind risks collapsing the whole fragile illusion you've constructed. People don't love the real, messy youth, they love the reliable, predictable character you've played so convincingly for so long. You're the model man in a movie that never had your name in the opening credits. Just a supporting role in someone else's epic. So what now? You thought you chose this path freely, the career that pays well but drains you, The lifestyle that looks good but feels empty. The status symbols that impress but don't fulfill. But what if the choices were preloaded from the start, like options in a video game menu? What if success was planted in your young mind before you even had the words or wisdom to question it? Before you truly knew yourself, they told you exactly who to become, what to value, how to measure your life. From then on, you stopped exploring the vast possibilities of who you could be. You started executing the plan without deviation, like a robot following code. It started so small and innocently. Gold stars on homework for following directions precisely. Praise from teachers and parents for being the good kid who never rocked the boat. Respect from peers for burying your doubts under a mountain of deadlines and achievements. You were never celebrated for wondering deeply about who you truly are at your core, for daydreaming alternative paths. You were celebrated for being useful to the family, to the school, to the economy, to society at large. And the better you performed that usefulness, the louder the cheers became, not for your unique soul or creative spark, but for how perfectly you followed the directions laid out before you. The system doesn't need literal bars on your windows or guards at the door to keep you in place. It just needs a shiny, appealing costume to slip into, a clear target to aim for, and a spotlight bright enough to blind you to all the possible exits off the stage. Hit a man's pride just right. Tell him this role makes him a real man, worthy and strong. And he'll run through literal fire to protect it, to embody it fully. In Othello, Shakespeare exposes the same insidious trap. A proud, accomplished general, respected by all, powerful in battle, manipulated not by brute force or swords, but by subtle whispers from a schemer who convinces him that his honor, his public image, his carefully built reputation might be stained or tarnished. Iago didn't destroy Othello with weapons. Othello destroyed himself in a desperate bid to defend a reputation that wasn't worth the blood, the trust, or the love he spilled. That's exactly how it works in our world today. The system doesn't attack you head-on with threats. It convinces you quietly that your appearance, your status, your flawless performance is your entire worth as a person. You think you're building your own empire from scratch. You're really just reenacting someone else's fantasy, following their blueprint to the letter. They said dream big, but the dream always came with fine print. Strict timelines, salary benchmarks, social approval ratings, retirement milestones. It wasn't a dream born from your heart. It was a binding contract you signed in crayon as a child, without reading the terms. Every chapter of your life arrived, pre-scripted and pre-approved. Be nice and agreeable to avoid conflict, excel academically to prove your intelligence, don't cause any trouble that might disrupt the flow, pick practical majors that lead to stable jobs, settle down responsibly with the right person at the right time, accumulate assets like houses and cars to show progress. Reproduce the pattern of success with your own kids, retire gracefully without making waves. This isn't liberation or self-determination. It's sophisticated programming, conditioning from birth. Hesitate for a moment, question a single line, rewrite even one small scene and suddenly you're the problem child. The family disappointment, the glitch in the otherwise smooth-running system. Because your assigned job isn't self-awareness or bold innovation. It's consistency, reliability, predictability. You wonder why you feel so adrift, so disconnected, even with all the boxes checked. Because your story was written in a foreign language, your heart never learned to speak fluently. Every trophy on your shelf is just another page in a book you didn't author, didn't edit, didn't even choose the genre for. You've confused external structure for inner soul. Social media likes for genuine love. Daily routine for authentic realness. Now you're waking up not just to the deception that's been played on you, but to how faithfully, how loyally you've defended it all these years, protecting the illusion like it was your own creation. You weren't dragged kicking and screaming into this role. You stepped in proudly, head held high, because they called it winning, called it achievement, called it the American dream, called it manhood in all its glory. Told you this was the only acceptable plot for a life well lived on. You bought the ticket without hesitation. But now, ask the question they dread most. Who really wins when you execute the role flawlessly, day after day, and never once look up from the page to see the bigger picture? You're not living fully in the moment. You're maintaining continuity, keeping the narrative arc steady. Same tired dialogue repeated in meetings and family dinners. Same rigid posture held through stress and strain. Same clenched jaw that no weekend vacation ever truly relaxes. You're not passionate about the path anymore. You're not furious at the constraints. You're not even numb to it all. You're just keeping the show running smoothly, no matter the cost to your spirit. A polished, optimized version of you, stripped of any spontaneity, any wildness, any unscripted joy. You do it all right according to the playbook, show up on time every day. Grind through the challenges without complaint. Provide stability for those who rely on you. Stay composed even when everything inside is cracking. Yet a stubborn, insistent voice keeps asking in the rare moments of silence, why does winning feel so much like losing ground? That whisper grows louder after every hard-earned raise, every major milestone crossed, every you've made it toast at parties until you're alone in the dark, staring at your reflection in the bathroom mirror, unsure if the pride you feel is real or just a deeply ingrained habit from years of conditioning. Weirdest, most unsettling twist of all, you start resenting the guys who never made it by society's standards, the artists, the wanderers, the free spirits. Their eyes carry something raw, unscripted, vibrantly alive, that makes your own polished mask feel paper-thin and fragile. You envy their chaotic mess, even when they have far less materially, because at least they're not faking it every day. That low simmering anger building inside. It's not directed at the boss who demands more, the market that shifts unpredictably, the economy that squeezes you. It's aimed squarely at the part of you that sold out for the illusion of safety and security, that traded adventure for predictability. Shakespeare knew this slow, agonizing death of the spirit intimately. He captured it in play after play as a cautionary tale. He wrote of men trading their very souls for the fleeting illusion of happiness and power. That's the quiet exchange you've made without realizing. Depth and meaning for external validation. Inner fire for superficial applause. The trap tightens. The better you play your part, status locks you in place. Reputation chains you to expectations. Success becomes the invisible bars you can't see until it's too late. You can't quit now, without endless explanations to give, without facing judgment from every corner, without admitting that the whole grand arc of your life might have been nothing but well-crafted fiction. The machine protects itself, not with brute force or threats, but with deep-seated fear. Fear of being seen as washed up or irrelevant. Fear of the echoing silence that follows. Fear of slipping into invisibility after years in the spotlight. The bitter irony that twists the knife. You've worked so incredibly hard to become someone important, someone respected, that you've completely lost touch with who you were before the role took over and reshaped you. So the brutal, unavoidable question finally lands like a hammer. Are you truly alive in this moment? Or are you just terrified of disappointing the audience that has already bought tickets to watch your lifelong performance? You've built something undeniably impressive from the outside: a career, a family, a network, earned respect that's hard-won, mastered the lines to perfection. But that mastery came at the steep cost of authorship, of owning your narrative. You don't believe in the script anymore, don't feel it in your gut. Yet you recite it daily out of habit, not from genuine conviction, but from the terror of facing the blank page that follows if you stop. That's the deepest, darkest cell of all, not the role itself, which you could always endure, but forgetting entirely that you could ever write your own story from scratch. Shakespeare warned us through King Lear. The old powerful king sheds his crown, his title, his authority, and suddenly he's reduced to nothing in the eyes of the world. No one bows in deference anymore. No one listens to his rants. No one cares about his opinions. Because Lear never learned how to exist beyond the elaborate costume of kingship, beyond the props of power. That's your potential tragic ending too, lurking on the horizon. Peel off the job title that's defined you, the steady income that props you up, the accolades that validate you. What remains in the quiet afterward? Would anyone still value you without the impressive resume to back it up? Would your loved ones still see you clearly if the paycheck and prestige vanished overnight? Would you even see yourself in the mirror without those external markers? Most men don't fear crashing spectacularly in flames. They fear fading slowly into the background, fear becoming a nobody in society's eyes, even if being a somebody is slowly, methodically killing them from the inside out. So they grip the script tighter than ever, deliver the lines smoother with more conviction, smile wider through the growing cracks, all while the inside erodes away bit by bit. It's simpler, safer to keep acting the part than to risk being truly seen vulnerable, uncertain, human. You've poured years, decades into building this character. Walking off stage now feels like torching your own hard-earned legacy in a bonfire. But deep down, where the truth pulses quietly, you know, this life was never signed in your own handwriting. It was dictated, edited, approved by others. If this is hitting home hard, if you're suddenly tired of the endless performing and ready to risk stepping into the unknown territory beyond the stage drop, a like right now to show you feeling this. Share it with one guy you know who's quietly questioning the same scripted existence. And subscribe for more unvarnished truths that cut straight through the applause and illusions. Turn on notifications so you catch the next one that might spark your own rewrite. Your real story, the one with no outside director, no rehearsed cues. Just you calling the shot starts the very second you stop reading someone else's lines and start writing your own. Thanks for staying all the way to the end. Now go find your own ending, whatever it looks like.